ya llegamos a California, gracias a Dios, vale.
This time, the Florida state contractors who flew these migrants from border cities to Sacramento, California, they took video. They made it public, showing, they say, the process and their care. That transport followed the same MO as last fall's Florida-paid flights of 50 migrants from the southern border here to Martha's Vineyard. But that then was planned and executed in secret and is currently the subject of a federal class action lawsuit against Governor Ron DeSantis and the contractors. The lawyers who filed that flew to Sacramento this week to meet with the new arrivals and gauge whether they should be part of the class. And Mirian Albert with Lawyers for Civil Rights in Boston is live with us today with what they found. Really nice to have you on the program, Mirian. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What did you find? I know you yourself weren't there, but your colleagues that are in Sacramento, what did they learn?
Sure. Our office began getting calls over the weekend as word filtered out about the Sacramento flights, and we were able to mobilize immediately, and our attorneys were on the ground in California. Like you said, shortly after the second flight arrived, our attorneys were investigating in particular whether migrants were deceived into boarding the flights, as was the case with our Martha's Vineyard clients. That fraud and that deception is what was illegal, and we are looking closely at whether that occurred with this new group. We're keeping all of our options on the table as we're still investigating. But as you mentioned, just from some of the conversations that our attorneys were able to have with the migrants in Sacramento, we definitely did find some similarities as was with the Martha's Vineyard situation. Similar to the Martha's Vineyard migrants, the Sacramento migrants were people who were in highly vulnerable positions when they were approached in El Paso, Texas. Many of them had been staying outside of a shelter that they had already exceeded the number of days that they could be. So they were all in the streets or in surrounding areas when they were first approached by the individuals who later.
Let me just, I don't mean to interrupt, but before you make your case, I really want to get a sense, and I want our viewers to have a sense of, you talk to these people. I don't know if they're bona fide clients of yours yet. I don't want to breach any kind of confidentiality. But when you asked these people in Sacramento, what did they tell you?
Right. So, like I said, it's similar. There was a lot of similarities as there was with our Martha's Vineyard clients.
Like what, for instance?
A lot of these migrants talked about how they were approached and they were made promises to have work. Some of them said, like I said, they were in a very vulnerable position where a lot of them didn't have a roof over their head. So they were promised that they would have a roof over their head. And being in that very vulnerable position, that can be a very compelling and appealing offer, right? They were led to believe that this was a good Samaritan effort and that that the efforts that were being coordinated on the other side, that there was going to be coordinated efforts from different agencies that were going to expect their arrival. But as we all saw, of course, that wasn't the case. Similar as was the case with our clients, they were just simply deposited at the doorstep of a church. Right. Completely different from what they were expecting.
Right. And so the differences from then and from now, this program, the migrant transport program, is codified in Florida law now, voted upon in the legislature, signed by the governor, a big immigration bill, and this is part of it. And in the contracts that have since gone out for requests for proposals and the whole governmental process, and the three contractors who won, Vertol Systems is the contractor who did this flight. They have to follow certain rules in that contract, which include housing and meals, a voluntary sign-off from these people, and it also in the contract says that the contractors work with social services on the ground in the cities they fly to. And to your point, if these migrants were timed out of the shelters and on the streets and had no hope and nowhere to go, why is this necessarily a bad thing?
Well, again, they were made promises that things were going to be offered to them or available to them on the other side, right? That they were coordinating to make sure that that happened. But that was definitely not the case. They were just abandoned at the doorsteps of a church and kind of left to fend for themselves. And that is, again, the fact, or our suit specifically, our class action suit, focuses on the fact that these migrants or our clients and potentially others who were induced to travel across state lines through fraud and misrepresentation on a part of Governor DeSantis and his conspirators, right? So that's what we're still investigating to see if, these specific migrants from the Sacramento flights are also class members. But we already do see a lot of similarities.
Have you been able to see the actual paper that they signed? We have video. The video comes, for the record, the video comes from the Florida Division of Emergency Management, which is the Florida department that oversees this program now. It was handout video. It was not independently verified. That's just for the record, not that we have any doubt of what we're looking at or should have any doubt either way. So the roundtable you're looking at right now is where Governor DeSantis kind of talked about it, but then the video shows them signing a piece of paper. They actually look very happy. They look like they're being well cared for. The paperwork that they signed, volunteering to take this flight, have you been able to see that actual document?
We've heard that some have signed releases. We don't know the circumstances around it. But what I can say is that similar to our clients in Martha's Vineyard, they were asked to sign a consent or release form, right, in exchange for gift cards, and in addition to all of the false promises that were made to them. So as said, we're still investigating whether that's the same fact pattern here that was replicated in Sacramento.
Are you saying that was a quid pro quo that they had to sign to receive the gift card? Was that your understanding? Because we haven't seen that quid pro quo written anywhere.
What our clients in the Martha's Vineyard situation told us was that they were given a consent form or this release form, and in exchange for signing it, they were given the gift cards.
And does the fact that, unlike last fall, does the fact that it is now Florida law with rules and procedures and contractors and a budget, does that change anything in this case for the Sacramento group?
No, I mean, our lawsuit has a multitude of claims, both under federal law and a couple of state law claims. So, and as you mentioned, our case is currently pending in federal court in the District of Massachusetts. So we fully expect to hold the governor accountable for that conduct.
Mirian Albert with Lawyers for Civil Rights in Boston. Appreciate your time. Thank you for explaining some of those things to us. We'll be really looking forward to finding out what you find specifically with the Sacramento migrants, and I hope you'll keep in touch with us.
Thank you for having me.